I'm Napoleon Bell, Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here at the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas. We are celebrating Black History Month with a series entitled Journey to Justice, Voices from the Bench, honoring African American judges at the court. So please enjoy the wisdom and words of the Honorable Judge Jaiza. Well, welcome, Judge Jaiza Page. We're so glad to have you here and to hear your story, but thanks for taking the time to be with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
So, it's Black History Month, and we're celebrating the judges in the court in regards to Black History Month and those African Americans that have put themselves behind the bench. And we want to learn a little bit about you, first of all, right? So did you grow up in Columbus, Ohio?
Yes, I did my entire life. I lived kind of on the near east side for a few years when I was very young, and then moved to Linden, of course, with my mom. I didn't make that move myself. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, and we lived in the Linden community for a bulk of my childhood until I was about 16, and then moved to the east side of Columbus.
Oh, wow. So when you were living, when you're growing up and living in the Linden community, I always wondered, did you know what you wanted to do then? Right? Did you say, you know what, I want to be an attorney, or you know what, I think I want to be a judge?
So I knew when I was about 8 years old that I wanted to be an attorney. I was watching a show on ABC Family, and I've been trying for the past few years to figure out exactly what show that was. And it was a young person whose parents were going through a divorce, I believe, and he was appointed an attorney by a judge. And I thought when I was little, I want to be able to help kids in the courtroom. And that really just stayed with me. When I was 13, I remember my mentor took me to see the client, and at that time I was like, I really, really want to do this. So throughout my childhood, my teenage years, I always really stuck to wanting to be an attorney. Being a judge came later in life as I was on city council. Prior to that, I was working in the Columbus City Attorney's Office. I also had the opportunity to work in private practice. But just being able to serve my community and still do what I was passionate about, and really the law, and bringing both of those together is kind of what solidified my journey to the bench.
Wow. But when you were, you said that you knew as of 8 years old, and as you started to progress through, high school and then in college, did you see yourself as the attorney, though, representing, more gravitating toward the youth, to represent youth and youth cases, or was it, did you learn more as you went and decide hey, I want to take it all on?
For a few years, I actually wanted to get into educational law and school rights. And so I have always been, and was at that time, really passionate about educational opportunities for young people, especially in communities that are underserved. Also dealing with Title IX issues and whether or not girls were receiving the same opportunities as boys in schools. And so I really want to do that for like I said, most of my teenagers is when I learned about it, and then throughout college, I was like, I'm going to be an education and school law attorney. And the time that I graduated from law school and passed the bar, it was during the housing bust, and so there weren't as many employment opportunities that were available. And throughout my entire law school career, I interned with the Columbus City Attorney's Office, and then Columbus City Attorney Richard Pfeiffer offered me a position in the nuisance abatement section. And when I learned about the work and still having the opportunity to give back to my community, and not necessarily working directly with kids, but being able to transform their neighborhoods so that they could have better educational opportunities, so that they could have safe passageways to and from school, I thought that this is something that I could do, and I could still help kids and also really help my community as well.
Wow. So I'm going to go back a little bit, because you talked a little bit about mom, but did you have a mentor when you were growing up? It sounds like she was definitely in your life, but was she your mentor, beginning? And then I want to talk about then later on in life, who became your mentor as far as you matriculated through time.
I would say my mom was my first mentor and continues to be one of my mentors. When my brother and I were in high school, my mom went to Ohio Dominican to get her associate's degree. And so the three of us were in school at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
And that was important for her to do, because she wanted to show my brother and I the importance of education. And really from that moment, I mean, I've loved my mom my entire life, but that moment I really saw, like, she cares about us, but she also cares about our future in a way that is so wonderful. And I just thought that I want to make my mom proud, and I want to do something that will make my family proud as well. But also just seeing the work that she put in being a single mom, again, 2 high school students, and then working full-time and going to school to get her associate's degree. Yes.
Yeah, so you've learned through that drive, and yeah, she was definitely a great example.
Yes.
Yeah. So living up to that. So apparently, I'm sure she's very, very proud.
I hope
so. of all that you've achieved and the good work that you're doing in the community. Because you did speak about the work that you're doing in the city attorney's office. That sounds like it would be something that you're in the community a lot and really understanding and being part of the community.
Yes.
So let me ask you, what in the city attorney's office, was there, in doing the work there in the community, was there any part of that work that stood out for you that you're like, that was really something we worked hard on, or was there something to that effect that really gave you that feeling of like, this is why I'm here?
So I would say one of my biggest projects, which you were a part of as well in your career with law enforcement, was Motel 1. And so that was a motel that was in the east side of Columbus, right after you pass like Bexley before Whitehall. And it was a predominantly African-American community. It was economically probably on the middle to lower end, and this hotel had plagued the community with violence, drugs, and anything that you could think of for many years. And the community came to the city attorney's office, they came to Columbus Police Department, code enforcement, building and zoning, and said, we need some help. We need to have a community that is safe. We need to have a community where my children, where my grandchildren can go outside and play and not worry about seeing needles in our backyards. I remember specifically a grandmother telling me that story. And to be able to use the law to shut that hotel down and eventually get it demolished was probably one of the highlights of my career. And I remember going out there with the community. The judge at the time, who was Judge Hawkins, was there as well. Many of the Columbus police officers, you may have been there too, I can't absolutely remember, and just really celebrating with the community what they consider to be a pivotal moment in the transformation. Now that area is a Bank of America, which contributes back to the community economically. It gives individuals the ability to walk to a bank who may not have been able to, who may not have a vehicle, and just also to show the young people in the community the importance of wealth building. So I would definitely say that that is one of the highlights of my career as an attorney.
Great. And that also speaks to like who you are, but also understanding the community. When you tell that story about the lady who had saw needles in her backyard. So when you're in the community, you really have a better connection for why you're doing what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah. Very good. So as you went through the city attorney's office, and then what made you decide? You went to city council after that, and did a lot of good work there. But what made you decide? Okay, my next step, I want to be a judge.
So working on city council, I was able to work in the community in a much different capacity than I did as an assistant city attorney. And so being one of 7 lawmakers for the city of Columbus at that time, I saw many of the issues that plagued Columbus residents. But I then also missed the courtroom and being able to just kind of crack open a law book and look at that.
Never heard about that. I'm just going to crack open a law book, see what's there.
And although we don't do much zoning law here in this particular position, I always considered myself to be a zoning law nerd as well. And I just really wanted to get back into the courtroom. And in talking to Richard C. Pfeiffer Jr., who is one of my mentors, he encouraged me to consider it. He said that he thought that I had the proper judicial temperament, and understanding that I was young at the time and I had only been practicing for 8 years. He said, I really think that this is something that you should think about. So I spoke to my family. I had a few other mentors that I spoke to as well, and really wanted to get their opinions and their thoughts. And after thinking about it and praying about it, I decided I was going to do it, and I was successful.
Great. Well, so you did speak to being young and coming over to the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas. You were the youngest judge here and coming, I think, the youngest judge coming over to the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas, I believe. But with that, did that bring some challenges, bring some hurdles, especially being an African-American woman?
Absolutely. So I know that there was a lot of consternation, particularly in the legal community, because of my age, because of my years of experience as an attorney prior to joining the bench. And I know that people would come in my courtroom and they would say, oh, there's the little girl on the bench. And for me, it was important to show not only for all of Franklin County, but the legal community that I'm going to work hard. My age is not going to be a hindrance to me being able to do the right thing and being passionate about doing the right thing. And so I am hopeful that over the past 7 years, my youthfulness, as they say, hasn't been something that people are really looking and stopping and saying, oh, she's not able to do this job. But they're able to see past this youthful face and what some people say, the baby voice that I have, and to really see that I am passionate about the work that I do.
You know, I think, you know, just in speaking with you, your passion comes through. So I'm sure it does also while you're on the bench. And next to closing here, what words of inspiration and guidance to the young person, the 8-year-old, the 10-year-old that's thinking about this career, would you give to them? And well, I'll start with that. What inspiration, or what words of wisdom would you lay upon them?
One of the greatest things that I've done so far since I've been on the bench is created the Justice for All Youth Summer Camp. And through that camp, I have met hundreds of young people who are interested in the law. And they have been African-American students, they have been Caucasian students, Asian students, male, female, and to really just to be able to pour into them and let them know that one day you can be an attorney, one day if you want you can be a judge, is something that I hold very dear to my heart. And so for any young person, whether or not I meet you in the camp or you stop by my courtroom and you want to sit on the bench, I would just tell them that if going into the legal field is something that you want to do, you can do it.
Excellent. And then the other part of that question is not just the young people, but what do you say to those who might come before you, and how do you give them guidance, either while speaking with them then and or prior to or after? What would you like to say to them?
In the work that we do, we see people on their worst day. It is very rare that you meet someone who wants to come to the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas General Division, because normally they are coming here because is something that is not so great. It may be a negative decision that they made that is now leading to greater consequences. And I see people who grew up in the same neighborhood that I did, but they took a different path. And what I try to do when I'm on the bench and delivering my sentence to them, whether it's for probation or it could be going to prison, is I try to do that and really just focus on them. And although prison is the harshest sentence that we can impose, I do try to do that in a way that they understand that once you are released, you still have the opportunity to contribute back to the community in which you live. And throughout the time that you are incarcerated, I hope that you take the opportunity to get into some classes and also to reflect and to do what you need to do in order to make positive contributions wherever you are. And again, I know that people are stressed when they stand before me, and I just try to really be compassionate, show empathy, and then do the right thing.
Appreciate your words. Judge Jaiza Page, it's been a pleasure. We thank you for being one of our voices from the bench.
Thank you.
And wish you the best of luck in the future.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Thank you. All right.